She tried to ruin a blind date for 20, until the millionaire CEO fell madly in love. The bustling cafe was alive with chatter, laughter, and the clinking of cups, but amidst the joyful sounds, a tempest was brewing. Lucy, a waitress with a reputation for pranks as spicy as her homemade chili, was plotting her most audacious scheme yet. For the price of a measly $20, she could turn a blind date into a circus show, complete with unexpected twists and turns that would make anyone's jaw drop. The dim lights shimmered like stars in the background as she leaned discreetly against the bar, her heart racing with exhilaration. The target? A serious-minded lawyer, buttoned up and tight-lipped, dying for a connection. Little did he know, his blind date was about to face a storm unlike anything she'd conjured before. Lucy grinned, her thoughts racing, plotting the lengths she'd go to mess with him. She could almost hear the dramatic orchestra swell in her mind as she envisioned it all unfold. Just then, the door swung open, and in walked Daniel, a millionaire CEO cloaked in mystery. His presence was magnetic, with a handsome face that could stop traffic and an air of confidence that made hearts race. A collective gasp rippled through the cafe. Lucy's plan suddenly felt small and trivial compared to the whirlwind he could create. But there was something about Daniel, something almost eerie in the way every eye followed him, as if they sensed a spark in the air. As Lucy's mind whirled, a sense of tension crackled like static electricity on her skin. What if this wasn't just a prank? What if she unleashed something she couldn't control? For a moment, she hesitated, feeling a lump form in her throat as the stakes soared. Was it really worth the price of $20 to toy with someone who could change the course of her life forever? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Caught in her own whirlwind of emotions, Lucy watched as Daniel approached the table, his piercing gaze locking onto the lawyer, and the energy shifted palpably. The cafe fell eerily silent, as if all lives paused to witness the collision of two remarkable worlds. What would happen when the unexpected romance unfolded? Would Lucy regret her choices? Tension filled the air as a single question hung heavy. Could a simple prank rewrite destiny, or would it unleash chaos beyond her wildest imagination? The air was thick with anticipation, a concoction of anxiety and electricity swirling around Lucy as she watched Daniel sit down with the lawyer. The cafe buzzed back to life, patrons whispering and exchanging worried glances, unsure of what would unfold. In her mind, visions of pranks danced mischievously, but now that Daniel was here, they felt like a bad idea, teetering on the edge of insanity. Lucy bit her lip, caught in a whirlwind of doubt. She wasn't just pulling a prank anymore. She was dangerously close to igniting a firestorm. Daniel's deep voice cut through her thoughts, casual yet commanding, as he offered the unassuming lawyer a firm handshake. The tension in the air felt almost palpable, like a balloon stretched too thin, ready to burst at any moment. "Good to finally meet you," Daniel said, a smile that could light up the darkest of rooms gracing his face. The lawyer's expression morphed from skepticism to intrigue in a heartbeat. Lucy couldn't help but feel a pang of envy at their effortless banter. Was it too late to pull back? She had the power to change course, snap her fingers, and erase the whole thing. But a part of her hungered for the drama, for the story it would weave. As the conversation flowed, Lucy turned away momentarily, taking a deep breath and wondering how she could have miscalculated so dramatically. This wasn't just some random dude. This was Daniel, a man who held a world of influence and charisma, a $1 million smile that could charm the pants off anyone. She was suddenly acutely aware of her own threadbare apron, the chilly stains on her shirt, the weariness of her afternoon. What was she thinking? The stakes had skyrocketed. A sharp laugh rang out from the lawyer, breaking Lucy's reverie. She glanced back just in time to see Daniel lean in closer, his hand resting casually on the table, effortlessly drawing the man in, igniting some flicker of genuine interest. "What do you say we go for a drink after this?" Daniel asked, casual but with undertones of challenge. The lawyer's surprise was evident, his mouth opening slightly like a fish gasping for air. "What? Really?" The lawyer blinked, clearly taken aback. "Yeah, why not?" Daniel's tone was confident, but Lucy caught a flicker of something else there, a hint of danger, or perhaps it was the thrill of the unknown. With her heart racing, Lucy felt a rush of adrenaline. She couldn't sit back and watch the two of them bond over drinks, possibly leading to some romantic rendezvous that would obliterate any chance for her scheme. Acting on impulse, she grabbed a nearby napkin, scribbled a hasty note, and folded it just right, a plan blossoming in her mind. "Excuse me," Lucy called, hurrying over as they shared a laugh. The two men turned their attention to her, both brows raised expectantly. "Hey, I just thought you should know," she paused, biting her cheek to suppress her nerves. "The special today, it includes a secret dish that's a favorite of the CEO." Before they could question her, she slid the note toward the lawyer, whose curiosity piqued. "Trust me, you don't want to miss it," she added with a wink, her heart racing. Daniel's eyes narrowed, suspicion flaring into existence. What had she just set in motion? What chaos would follow? And as their conversation shifted gears, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling that she had unleashed something much larger than herself, something thrilling and dangerous. The stakes were no longer $20. They were far greater, and she stood at the precipice of a decision that could alter everything. What would the secret dish entail? And would it bring them closer or tear everything apart? The tension in the cafe thickened, simmering under the surface as Lucy slid back to her table, the weight of her decision pressing down like a lead blanket. All eyes were now on Daniel and the lawyer, who exchanged glances that crackled with unspoken words. Lucy's stomach twisted into knots, anticipation mixing with regret. Had she just set off a chain reaction? The lawyer unfolded the note, a frown knitting his brow. "A secret dish?" he asked, his voice cautious, like he was stepping into a minefield. "Yeah. I heard it's incredible," she blurted out, though her heart raced with doubt. For a split second, the cafe spun, and the patrons' whispers morphed into a dull roar. She felt like a spectator at a circus, about to witness something spectacular and terrifying all at once. "Interesting," Daniel said, tilting his head. "What's in it?" He leaned closer to the lawyer, who clearly now had doubts clouding his interest. Now or never, Lucy thought. "It's a surprise," she chirped, forcing a bright smile onto her face, a mask for the panic bubbling underneath. "You should try it for the full experience." Her voice trembled slightly, but she pushed through, the adrenaline surging. The lawyer still looked skeptical, glancing between Daniel and Lucy. This was just a dish, but the repercussions could ricochet through the rest of their lives. "Fine, I'll bite," Daniel interjected, breaking the standoff like a hammer through glass. "Let us try this secret dish. Who knows, it could be worth my time." The lawyer hesitated, then shrugged. "Okay, if you say so. But I really don't want to waste my lunch on some overhyped menu item." "Trust me, you won't regret it," Daniel said, his voice smooth yet charged. As they returned their focus to each other, Lucy felt the thrill of risk like standing at the edge of a cliff, the air rushing past her as she looked down into an abyss of uncertainty. What had she unleashed? She peered forward, her mind racing with the repercussions of her impulsive actions. Would their curiosity about the dish bridge a connection, or would it unveil a hidden animosity between them? What if the dish was genuinely terrible? Suddenly, laughter erupted from their table, slicing through Lucy's anxious thoughts. Daniel had managed to draw the lawyer back into light-hearted conversation, and for a moment, everything else faded. But that laughter felt ominous, as if they were each taking one more step into a game where the rules were changing by the second. Lucy's phone buzzed, pulling her from the moment. It was a text from her friend Mia. "Just got off the phone with Hannah. You wouldn't believe what she heard." She couldn't bear to look. Not now. She knew it would be more gossip about Daniel and the whole chaotic situation unfolding. But a deeper instinct pulled her to check. The air teetered on the edge of chaos, and she felt that something was about to break. She just hoped she wasn't the one shattering apart. Taking a breath, she glanced back at the table. They were both deep in conversation, the lawyer seemingly warming up to Daniel. Meanwhile, her phone buzzed again, urgency in the vibrations. What was happening? Did Hannah have something that could laser in on her scheme's heart? Lucy's gut twisted, sensing danger in the air as the cafe buzzed like an electric fence. Yet another text flashed on her screen. "You need to know who is coming." Ticking down the seconds, she finally opened it, her heart pounding. What could it possibly say that would change everything? And would she have the power to steer the whirlwind she had inadvertently unleashed? The moment Lucy read the message, a chill slithered down her spine. Who could possibly be coming? The cafe felt smaller, walls closing in as her heart raced. She struggled to process the information, her fingers trembling as she tapped back to respond. But what could she say? There was no time for witty replies or brave faces now. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard, waiting for her to find the right words. Just as she was about to type, another set of footsteps echoed through the cafe entrance. Lucy looked up sharply. A tall figure stepped in, the door swinging shut behind them with a heavy thud that punctuated the growing tension in the room. The fairy tale of a chance meeting felt more like a train about to derail. Her breath caught in her throat. It was Hannah. But beside her, a man with an aura so commanding, it distorted the very air around him. He was beautiful in a way that turned heads and snapped jaws shut. In that split second, every ounce of attention shifted. "Hannah!" Lucy whispered, panic bubbling beneath her composed facade. What was she doing here? And who was that? Lucy felt sweat bead at her temples. The tension at Daniel's table shattered like glass. He and the lawyer shifted their focus, eyes widening as they took in the scene unfolding. What in the world? Lucy mumbled, half to herself, half to the air. She had been the catalyst for a meeting at this cafe, but now, with the arrival of Hannah and her magnificent companion, everything crumbled. The secret dish and their earlier conversations faded into the background like a distant memory. What is wrong? Mia's message blinked impatiently again, but Lucy ignored it. She was rooted in her seat, locked in a battle of wills against the impending chaos. Then the man caught her gaze. His eyes were piercing, a dark storm swirling just below the surface. Lucy's breath hitched. There was something unsettling yet magnetic about him. "Lucy!" Hannah called, eliciting the wave of attention once again. "You wouldn't believe who I ran into. I told him we were meeting here." Lucy's stomach dropped as Daniel sat up straighter. "Well, this just got interesting," he said lightly, though the tension betrayed him, an undercurrent pulsing between them. "Can you believe it?" Hannah laughed, rich and free, the sound filling the space. "This is Jason, the notorious finance mogul. You know, the one who just snagged a massive deal last month." The cafe felt electric. Every patron leaned closer, their meals forgotten as they awaited the inevitable showdown. Lucy's carefully laid plans felt like a house of cards in a windstorm. Lucy forced a smile, but it felt plastered on. What was Hannah thinking? Did she really stumble into this oblivion, or was this planned? Jason smiled at her, yet there was something about his smile it felt predatory. "I've heard so much about you, Lucy," he drawled, his voice smooth and velvety. "Did you now?" she replied, trying to mask her discomfort. Her pulse quickened, each beat a reminder of the web she'd woven. "Let us order this secret dish then," he said with a tilt of his head, casting a glance at Daniel as if challenging him. "I'm in." Lucy's heart pounded harder. The stakes had escalated. This wasn't just about a meal now. What had she done? And what was Jason really after? As the waiter approached their table, she thought back to the text Mia sent. What else had she missed? But it was too late for second chances. The game had changed. Before she could catch her breath, Lucy's phone vibrated again. No more distractions. She had to decide how she was going to navigate the secrets unraveling around her. With a deep breath, she glanced back at Jason, then Daniel, feeling the weight of all eyes on her. What was she going to do next? Panic twisted in Lucy's gut as she faced the reality of her precarious situation. Jason was here. In her cafe, right in the middle of her carefully orchestrated lunch. She forced her eyes to hold his gaze, but it felt like staring into endless depths where shadows danced alluring yet ominous. "Lucky for us, a 2-for-1 deal on awkward moments," Jason quipped, breaking the tension and sending a ripple of laughter through the cafe. It felt almost mocking to Lucy, turning her life into some twisted game. As the waiter shuffled closer, menu in hand, Lucy felt it was now or never. Why don't we just skip the small talk? We all know what everyone is really here for," she said, attempting to regain control over the spiraling dynamics. Hannah's laughter died in her throat, and the silence that followed felt palpable. Daniel, wearing a mask of composed indifference, shifted in his seat, eyes darting between Lucy and Jason. "All right, let us dive into the secret dish then," Jason said, unfazed by Lucy's challenge, as if her stilted confidence had only fueled his fire. "But I want something more than food out of this meeting. What is the real scoop on you, Lucy?" "What do you mean?" she shot back, her heart slamming against her ribcage. Every word danced around an unspoken truth. Was he here for her? Or was it just another cruel twist of fate? "Oh, come on." Jason leaned back, an easy smile curling his lips. "It's not every day you get to meet someone rumored to have a, let us say, colorful past. You've caught a lot of eyes recently." It was as if a spotlight snapped on, illuminating all her clandestine dealings. Lucy could feel heat rise to her cheeks, her mind racing through the details of her secret. "That is not I mean people talk." "People talk, and you listen," Jason replied, eyes glinting like polished steel. "Ever thought you could do something with your life beyond this?" He gestured around the cafe, a casual shrug that belied the weight of his words. With the waiter still lingering, Lucy seized upon the moment and shot a sideways glance at Daniel. "This isn't just about me, Jason. We all have our stories." She needed to steer the conversation back. "What about you? What is your angle in all this? What do you want?" Jason's expression darkened slightly, and the laughter faded from his eyes, as if she had touched a nerve. "What do I want? Well, I'd say it starts with a chance to discover what drives the enigmatic Lucy. Maybe thrill is also on my list," he said, voice low, a smirk returning just as quickly. Murmurs erupted among other cafe patrons, drawn into the palpable tension. Whispers echoed around the room, speculating, wondering if this was just a flirtation or something much deeper. To Lucy's dismay, she realized the boundaries of her comfort zone were slipping away. Suddenly, a loud crash drew attention. A glass shattered on the floor, spilling red wine like fresh blood. Heads turned as an older woman stood, her shocked expression mirroring Lucy's dread. Had someone overheard more than they should have? Let us get back to that dish, Daniel broke in, voice steady yet strained, attempting to usher the conversation into safer waters. But for Lucy, the chaos was swirling too fast to make sense of anything now. The cafe had become a powder keg, each moment charged with unspoken questions and hidden agendas. She felt trapped, caught between the shadows of her past and the dazzling intrigue of Jason's world. "Lucy," Jason said suddenly, making her heart race. "What if I told you I could help you redefine everything you think you know? What if this meeting changes everything for both of us?" Her breath hitched. What was at stake? And what did she dare to lose? As Lucy gazed into Jason's intense eyes, she knew each question opened a door. But which path would she choose? Would she brave the storm, or would it consume her? The waiter finally set down the dishes, slicing through the churning trepidation. But one thought lingered in her mind: what had she really unleashed by inviting him into her world? The moment resonated, heavy with possibility. Before she could catch her breath, her phone vibrated once more, the screen lighting up with yet another message from Mia. Unable to render her attention effective, Lucy was left wondering, was this merely the beginning? The clatter of cutlery and hushed whispers faded into the background as Lucy glanced nervously at the glowing screen of her phone. Mia's message flashed ominously. "Where are you? I thought we were meeting. Please tell me everything is okay." The words felt like a ticking clock, counting down to something inevitable. "Should I excuse myself?" she blurted out, panic leaking into her voice as she shot Daniel an apologetic look. His brows furrowed, eyes darting between her and Jason, clearly concerned now that she was losing her grip. "Where do you think you're going?" Jason's tone shifted, becoming almost predatory. It sent a chill racing down her spine. "I thought we were just getting started." "No, Lucy stammered, but she couldn't finish. The weight of his gaze kept her rooted to the spot, a fuse sparking in her chest. She rehearsed the myriad of possible exits, fleeing through the back, slipping into the restroom to collect herself, or maybe just calling a cab to take her far from here. "Lucy, it's just lunch," Daniel interjected, his voice smooth yet firm. "We came here to talk. Let's focus on whatever it is that is boiling over." But the determination in his eyes surprised her. Did he know more than he was letting on? "Right, of course," she murmured, unable to shake the feeling of being cornered. Jason leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table, his face mere inches away. "Tell me, what are you really afraid of?" Before she could answer, the cafe door swung open violently, startling the patrons. A harsh winter wind roared through the space, metal chimes jingling frantically. An unfamiliar figure strode in, their long coat billowing like a storm cloud, face obscured under a dark hood. Lucy's heart raced, the tension thickening as everyone turned their heads in unison. The atmosphere vibrated with unease. The newcomer scanned the cafe, eyes locking onto Lucy with a piercing intensity that made her heartbeat stutter. Who was this person? "Get out," Jason commanded, voice steady yet fierce, as he cast a protective glare toward the intruder. But the figure merely stepped forward, revealing a sharp jawline and piercing azure eyes. Lucy felt a mix of instinctive fear and intrigue. "Lucy," the stranger said, their voice low and resonant, like a bell tolling. "I've been looking for you." The air crackled with tension as murmurs swelled around the room. Lucy's stomach twisted. Was someone besides Jason aware of her past? "I don't know you," she responded, trying to maintain her composure, but it came out as a shaky whisper. The previous thrill in Jason's eyes morphed into something darker: anger, or perhaps vindication. "Oh, but you will," the stranger replied, stepping closer. "We're only just beginning." Jason surged out of his seat, his fist clenched. "You're ruining everything. Leave now." But the intruder remained unyielding, eyes darting between Lucy and Jason, as if weighing their strengths and vulnerabilities. The tension escalated, electric and frayed, as Lucy sat frozen. All her instincts screamed at her to run. Daniel stood with a quiet authority, blocking any potential path between the stranger and Lucy. "This is a place for good food and conversation. If you have a problem, leave it outside," he said firmly, even as his voice trembled slightly, revealing a chink in his usually composed demeanor. Lucy couldn't breathe. Fear suffocated her. As everyone held their breath, the stranger simply inclined their head, a devilish smile forming, before whispering just loud enough for Lucy to hear, "You can't outrun the truth." A collective gasp rippled through the cafe. It was as if someone struck a match in a powder keg. The ensuing turmoil twisted into chaos, as Lucy struggled to make sense of her unraveling reality. In that split second, with everything spiraling out of control, her mind raced with possibilities. What truth? What would it take to turn this disaster into a path to freedom? The noise intensified, people standing up, chairs scraping, voices overlapping as panic spread. Jason surged forward, eyes blazing. "Don't take a step closer," he shouted, his fierce protection for Lucy palpable. But a question loomed larger than any threat. Were her secrets about to be laid bare, just when she so desperately wanted to keep them hidden? As she gazed into the chaos, one thought loomed. How far would she go to protect the parts of herself that had started to glow in Jason's presence? Just then, her phone vibrated again, the screen lighting up with an unknown number. With her heart pounding, Lucy hesitated. Would she dare to answer? And what consequences would her choice unfold? The chaos in the cafe was deafening. Lucy felt as if she were trapped inside a snow globe that someone had violently shaken, everything around her swirling into a blur. The stranger's piercing gaze burned into her, a smoldering ember threatening to ignite the ground beneath her feet. She needed to think. But her mind was in overdrive. Racing through memories she desperately wished to forget. Jason's presence loomed over her like a storm cloud, but Daniel stood firm, made a protective wall she almost needed. Anxiety coursed through her veins, a cold shiver creeping up her spine. What truth did the stranger speak of? Who had they come here for? "Calm down," Daniel shouted, raising his voice above the din. "Everyone needs to step back. Just breathe." That tone. Lucy had heard it before, authority mixed with fear. It anchored her for just a moment until the stranger took another ominous step forward, shoulders squared like a predator stalking its prey. "Lucy, I'm not here to hurt you," the stranger said, their voice smooth and insistent. "In fact, I'm here to help unravel the lies that follow you." Lies. The word sent a jolt through her. Her past stretched back further and darker than she'd ever let on. Did this person know? Had they discovered the parts of her she had buried deep? A stranger knowing her history felt like an invasion. "Who sent you?" Lucy croaked, her gaze darting between Jason and Daniel. Jason looked like he was ready to lunge, while Daniel's fists tightened at his sides, his eyes flashing with a mix of concern and anger. "No one sent me," the stranger replied, a self-assured smirk dancing at the corners of their lips. "But you'll soon see that the past has a funny way of tying into the present." Jason erupted with rage. Chair legs scraped against the floor as he slammed a fist on the table. "Enough," he growled, stepping forward. "If you know what is good for you, you'll leave now before things get ugly." But before Jason could make another move, the figure swept aside their coat, revealing something, a glint of metal catching the cafe light. A tiny flash, like a camera shutter. "Lucy needs the truth," they continued, ignoring Jason's aggressive stance. "She deserves to know." "You both do." People in the cafe were exchanging nervous whispers, glancing between the trio and the newcomer. Tension hung heavy in the air, palpable and thick, like the prelude to a thunderstorm. Lucy felt her heart race. Was this person truly an ally? Or a new danger, poised to expose everything she'd worked so hard to hide? A sudden interruption sliced through her spiraling thoughts, a loud crack as a chair toppled. All heads snapped toward the sound, and Lucy's stomach plummeted. It was Mia, her face pale and trembling, shock written all over her features. "Lucy? What is happening?" "Me?" Lucy shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. She felt a rush of protectiveness. Mia should not be here, not amidst this madness, not where secrets could unravel violently. But the stranger's attention had shifted, eyes narrowing at Mia. "She is part of this too," they declared ominously. "She knows more than she lets on." Lucy's breath caught in her throat. What did they mean? The interconnectedness of their lives pressed in on her like a vice grip. Mia's eyes widened as realization set in. "What do you mean?" She half laughed, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her fear. "You're scaring us." "Lucy can't run from what she has done. She has to confront it," the stranger urged, their enigmatic tone cutting through the rising panic. In that moment, the phone in Lucy's pocket vibrated again, a sharp reminder of her chaotic reality. She needed to decide. Should she answer? Or was the danger already too close? Before she could act, Daniel walked toward the stranger, the air thick with the promise of confrontation. "You have one chance to leave peacefully," he said, voice steady but laced with warning. "And if you don't," a grin split the stranger's face. "You won't want to miss this, trust me." A scream echoed through the cafe, muffled only by the growing hum of fear and chaos. Lucy's heart thundered. What was about to unravel? With her phone still buzzing, questions spiraled. What truth awaited her? And how would it all end if she dared to face it? The scream split the air like glass shattering, freezing Lucy in place. Her pulse raced, pounding in her ears, as the cafe erupted into panic. People surged toward the exit, chairs scraping wildly across the floor, hands grasping at one another in a frenzied bid for safety. Mia's anguished gaze met hers, wide with fear. "What is going on?" Mia gasped, backing away until she collided with a wall, helpless and trapped. The stranger took a step closer to Lucy, deliberately calm amid the chaos. "It's all connected, Lucy," they said, their gaze unwavering. "Your past, your choices, they're about to surface." Daniel braced himself, muscles taut as he faced the stranger, an unyielding barrier between Lucy and the encroaching threat. "Stop. Just stop. You're creating a scene," he shouted, but the stranger's eerie calm only seemed to fuel the tension. "I'm merely a herald of truth," the stranger replied with a tinge of incredulity. "You can't hide forever, Lucy. It's time to face what you've denied." Murmurs spread through the remaining patrons, some backing away, others glancing at Lucy with a mix of concern and morbid curiosity. She felt exposed, her past slinking back into the corners of the cafe, threatening to engulf her. "Forget the truths you think you know, Lucy," the stranger continued, their voice slicing through the clamor. "It's the ones you don't that will tear everything apart." Lucy's heart sank deeper. What more could they unveil? The decisions she had buried, the damning choices that felt too close for comfort. She could still feel the hot breath of regret lingering just behind her. "Who are you?" Mia's voice broke through the haze, trembling but resolute. "Why are you doing this?" "We deserve to know." The stranger's lips curved into a tight smile. "Truth is rarely deserved, my dear. It's simply a matter of time." They cocked their heads slightly, the metal glimmering menacingly in their hand. "And I'm here to ensure it arrives. Wouldn't you want that for your friend?" With that, the stranger raised the object high enough for Lucy to see. A tiny camera? A record of her darkest moments? Anxiety clung to her throat like a noose. "Put that down," Daniel growled, fists clenched, every part of him emanating protective energy. "You think you can just come in here and Daniel?" Lucy's voice broke, cutting through his protective stance. "We need to hear them out." What if what, Lucy?" Jason's voice cut through the rising tension. His eyes were wild, flitting between the stranger and Lucy. What else could possibly come from this? The stranger stepped forward, locking eyes with Lucy, the air between them electric. "You think this will end in chaos?" "No, Lucy. It's only the beginning. You've pushed these memories into a dark corner, but they don't fade away. They linger, waiting to strike." "No!" Lucy shouted. "I don't want this." The stranger's smirk only widened. "But it's not about what you want anymore." Just then, her phone vibrated violently in her pocket. The sudden buzz jolted her, pulling her back to the moment. Everyone's heads turned, eyes darting nervously toward her, as if hoping she had the answer. "I can't do this," she cried, the weight of years pressing down on her chest. "I can't face it alone." The silence in the cafe froze, like a photograph. The air was thick with unspoken fears, shared glances, and a slow dawning realization that they were all involuntarily part of this unraveling. The stranger took a step back, lowering the camera slowly. "You want to be alone. Remember, Lucy, it's all a part of the game, and you're far from finished." The truth of their words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Lucy stood on a precipice, looking into the abyss of what awaited her. Did she dare to step forward and confront it? Or would the past swallow them all whole? As another shattering scream pierced the chaos, the stranger turned abruptly, their focus shifting to the cafe door. "Looks like time is up," they murmured, a twisted satisfaction flashing across their features. In that moment, Lucy knew one thing: there was no turning back. From here on out, every decision would define who she was, and who she might become. She felt a rush of defiance spark within her, even amidst the overwhelming fear. But would the truth lead to salvation or devastation? Only one thing was certain: the night was far from over, and the moment of reckoning was about to unfold. What awaited her beyond the doors? Would she be able to face it, or was she destined to lose everything she held dear? Chaos erupted as the door swung open, the sound of sirens piercing the air outside. Fear rarely stayed still, and it slipped through her limbs like ice water. Lucy's heart dropped, realizing she couldn't just ignore the looming shadow of her past anymore. The thick smell of coffee mingled with the sour tang of fear, making her stomach churn. Tension crackled, and even as people pressed against Daniel, who had become her shield, Lucy felt the weight of sleepless nights and hidden truths pressing down on her shoulders. A part of the game. That phrase echoed like a taunt in her mind. What game was the stranger suggesting? What had she missed? "Lucy!" Mia's voice wavered, snapping Lucy from her spiraling thoughts. "We need to get out of here." She tugged at Lucy's arm, but Lucy felt rooted to the spot, the urge to flee warring against a strange curiosity. "Wait!" Lucy called out, her voice shaky but determined. "What do you mean by game?" The stranger raised the camera once more, a sinister glint in their eyes. "Every choice you've made leads to this moment. Your past is not just yours to bear. It's a collective story waiting to unfold. And trust me, Lucy, this is just the prelude." With that, they turned swiftly, the camera still pointed at the doorway. The last thing Lucy saw before the stranger pivoted was the mischievous smirk that danced across their lips like they were in on a secret she wasn't. An uncomfortable knot coiled in her stomach. "What are they talking about?" Lucy whispered to Daniel, who kept scanning the room for dangers, leaving her feeling both safe and vulnerable. "I don't know," he admitted, his brows knitted tightly, "but we can't stay here. This place is too dangerous." But even as he spoke, the door flung open again, revealing a figure silhouetted against the streetlights. One by one, cafe patrons held their breath. Dark shadows lengthened across the room, each heartbeat echoing like a countdown. As the figure stepped forward into the light, Lucy's blood ran cold. It was someone she had never expected to see again. Tom. The man from her past, the one mistake she thought she could forget forever. "Lucy," he drawled, his voice smooth yet dangerously low, as if he enjoyed every moment of her shock. The crowd moved back in unison, forming a fortress of secrecy around her, but Lucy felt like a lone candle flickering in a storm. Murmurs spread through the crowd, a mix of confusion and curious pity. She remembered all too well the way Tom had wielded her secrets like weapons, slicing through her trust with his charming edge. "Long time no see, huh?" His tone hinted at something darker, and Lucy fought the urge to shrink away from him. "I hear you're embroiled in quite the dilemma. What are you doing here?" Lucy's voice came out sharper than intended, but she didn't care. "Oh, just making sure you're still the same, sweet Lucy," Tom said, stepping closer. "Looks like you might need a little help figuring things out, especially now that your past is catching up with you." Lucy felt dizzy. Was this part of the stranger's game? Would exposing her truth only lead to more destruction? She shook her head, a war of emotions battling within her. "Don't listen to him," Daniel said fiercely, stepping in front of her. "You don't owe him anything." "Oh, I think she does," Tom smirked, glancing back at the stranger, who was watching from the periphery, their expression unreadable. The noise from outside intensified as police vehicles rolled into view, flashing blue lights piercing through the hazy assail of fear within the cafe. Lucy's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. Were they really here for her? In that moment, she realized the truth: every action carried consequences. And the truth? It was darker than she had imagined. "I can't lose everything," she thought desperately, feeling the weight of everyone's gaze upon her. Not again. Before she could muster a response, the siren's wail faded into an ominous hush, leaving her teetering on the edge of revelation. Where did she go from here? How could she fight a battle that felt so much larger than herself? Then, the stranger's gaze shifted to her with an unsettling intensity, their voice echoing in her mind. Let the game begin. The night had only just started, and Lucy felt the ground beneath her shift as she took that first step toward confronting her demons. What else was hidden, waiting to be unearthed? Only time would tell if she was ready for the answers, or if those answers would bring her to her knees. The cafe erupted in a cacophony of fear, confusion, and urgency. Lucy's heart raced, pumping adrenaline through her veins as everything she feared came crashing down like shattered glass. There was chaos, but amidst it all, she found a single flicker of resolve lighting her path forward. Her past was knocking loud and clear. "Lucy!" Mia's voice broke through the pandemonium, urgency gripping her tone. "We can't stay here." But rooted in place, Lucy felt the weight of time pressing against her, like the world was suddenly in slow motion. Tom wasn't just a ghost from her past. He was a storm she thought she had left behind. She had worked hard to bury those memories, to start anew. But here he was, striding in like fate himself, mocking her attempts at independence. "Get away from her." Daniel's voice surged with authority, planting him firmly between Lucy and Tom, a fortress built from courage. Yet Lucy felt the pull of something deeper, an inkling to confront this shadow lurking in her past. "No!" she shouted, holding out a hand to stop Daniel. "I need to hear what he has to say." The cafe felt like it was holding its breath. Silence fell, heavy and thick. Everyone was watching, each pair of eyes flicking nervously between Lucy, Tom, Daniel, and the mysterious stranger whose gaze never left her. Tom smirked, a cold, twisted smile that made her stomach churn. "Looks like the little waitress has graduated to bold decisions," he taunted. "But this isn't a game you can play, Lucy." "Why are you here?" she challenged. "And what do you want?" I came to offer a helping hand, he said, stepping closer, the glint of arrogance sharp in his eyes. You've been playing with fire, sweet Lucy. The truth is, you're just one step away from losing everything you think you have. Stop! Daniel barked, stepping forward. But Lucy shook her head, feeling the weight of the moment warm her resolve. No, wait. She took a breath, surprising herself with newfound strength. Tell me, what secrets are you holding? Tom chuckled lightly, feigning innocence. Me? I'm just interested in what the truth holds for you. I thought you'd want to know your past can be a dangerous place, especially when it's about to collide with your present. With her heart hammering in her chest, she searched Tom's eyes for any hint of sincerity, but found only icy clarity and the promise of chaos. Enough. The stranger's voice sliced through the air, capturing everyone's attention again. This is all part of the game, Lucy. And believe me, the moment you think you can control it, it will spiral out of your grasp. Lucy felt the ground shift beneath her feet as anxiety churned into determination. I'm done being a pawn, she declared fiercely. I won't let you manipulate me any longer. The electric tension buzzed around her, establishing a newfound clarity. Yes, there were shadows of her past lingering, but they wouldn't define her future. Lucy, Daniel urged, his voice steady but laced with worry. We can go. We don't need to do this. No, she replied, filled with shocking calm. I need to face this. Tom's grin faded slightly. You think you can handle the fallout? What if I told you I know things you can't imagine? What could possibly be worse than the fear I live with every day? She shot back. I need to own my truth, even when it's messy. The air shifted again, a collective realization among the chatter of the cafe. The fine line between fear and liberation was teetering. Perhaps this was a test, a moment to seize her own narrative. Are you really ready for what you might discover? The stranger stepped forward, eyes probing her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. Once you see your truths laid bare, there's no going back. But the past can't be rewritten, Lucy said, her voice resolute yet trembling ever so slightly. It has shaped me, but it won't destroy me. Tom scoffed. You'll regret this decision, Lucy. I promise. She closed her eyes for a brief second, surrendering to the fear but not letting it consume her. Maybe, or maybe it's the first step toward reclaiming my life. Chaos erupted again as sirens blared in the distance, mixing with the anxious whispers in the cafe. Then, with unexpected confidence, she pulled her phone from her pocket, her fingers steadying as she glanced at the screen. The unknown number. Maybe it's time I embrace all of it. She answered the call, voice unwavering. I'm ready. The cafe fell silent once more, all eyes locked on Lucy as she took the plunge. With each heartbeat, she designed her own fate. The shadows of her past would no longer dictate her present. In this moment, Lucy was more than just a waitress with a wild heart. She was a force to be reckoned with. As the strangers and faces flared around her, Daniel squeezed her hand, a shared understanding settling between them. This was the conclusion they had expected, but it was just the beginning. The cast of characters still loomed large: Tom, Jason, the stranger, but Lucy felt the flood of clarity and strength rise. Would there be more chaos? Sure. But the truth was that chaos could be conquered too. She looked directly at Jason and Tom, the fire in her gaze flickering defiantly. Then let us see where this truth takes us. As the sea of uncertainty around her surged, that small flicker of resolve ignited into a flame. It was time to face everything she had feared, with her heart wide open. Chaos, truth, revelation, let them all come. She was ready to encounter it all. Now, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to this channel, so you don't miss any of our exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help spread the word. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this story concludes. Your support means everything to us.